Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. Happy Friday. I'm Adam Weinrib, joined as always by fan-sided MLB insider Robert Murray. The Orioles rotation's heads are falling off, and the most unexpected mid-April home run leader I've maybe ever seen. Here to break it down, open his notebook, and talk through all of the happenings from Wednesday to today is fan-sided's own Robert Murray. Robert, happy Friday. Welcome to the show. Let's roll.
Yeah, it feels good to be here. We got a Friday edition of the show. I am coming off a cheat meal of all cheat meals. I can feel the pizza coming out of my pores, which is always a fun feeling. If anyone's curious about the cheat meal that I had 2 pizzas and an order of breadsticks, all in one sitting. Well, I had some leftovers, but most of it was consumed. So that's good, but I'm ready to talk some baseball now that the pizza talk is done with. Good to be here with you, Adam. Happy Friday. How you doing?
I'm good. I will also say you sent me a picture. The breadsticks kind of look like a pizza. So I honestly kind of thought we're doing 3 pizzas. Also, just a sliver of it, but you screenshotted one of my favorite books of all time in that photograph. So psyched to see that too.
No, there we go. I've been reading a little bit more, thanks to some people in baseball pushing me to read some more stuff. And now we got Jeff Passan dropping Chandler Simpson being called up by the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's very exciting. He is one of the fastest players in baseball. Actually, I would call him the fastest player in baseball. So this should be like a Billy Hamilton on steroids kind of deal here for the Tampa Bay Rays. We always love a good Billy Hamilton shot on this podcast. So that's good.
Billy Hamilton on steroids is a good comp, to which I say test that man for steroids. Get Chandler Simpson out of baseball. Why'd you have to call him up for the Yankees series at Steinbrenner Field? No, I'm extremely excited to see him. And I'm glad that we got a little extra nugget to talk about today because those Rays have been wily and weird and probably needed a little bit of a lift to add to Junior Camanero's early season breakout. And Simpson could easily do it. 104 bases stolen in 110 games last year. I'll be watching. And not just because they're playing the Yankees at a stadium that is covered in Yankees logos, and it's pretty strange. But thank you for joining us. Baseball Insiders, 3:30 Eastern on Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're not watching us, hopefully you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you aren't subscribed on YouTube and on our podcast platform, we'd love if you would do that. Rate us, review us if you see fit. Also, join us in the Discord. You can become a member. We have members-only videos once per week from Robert as well. That just began. So if you're like, hey, I didn't see that, then you're probably not a member because there's one up there now. So join us at either the Rumor Mill tier or the All-Star tier in the Discord. Private Q&A with Robert on Thursdays, though. We're going to flip that around a little bit next week. Robert is traveling for spoiler. I mean, can I spoil?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
This man will be at the NFL draft. Very sick. So we're going to move things around a little bit next week, but rest assured we're still going to get it done. Special guest hosts next week a couple of times too to account for that. Monday, join me and Jess Kleinschmidt here on the channel, 3:30 Eastern time. Friday, got something very special planned with some folks that you're familiar with. A couple you might not be. Should be a really fun time. Maybe a little bit of a bigger show. So stay tuned for that. And right, Monday's show, slightly different time. We're going to be rolling at 12:30 Eastern time on Monday, 12:45 Eastern time. In fact, it's similar to 12:30, but it's slightly later. So 12:45 Eastern time on Monday. That's when the show is. So join us, please. We'll keep you posted on any other schedule changes throughout the week. Also, subscribe to the Moonshot. Got to get these out before we go. That's our weekly baseball email newsletter from the fan-sided MLB team, including Robert Murray breaking down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, behind-the-scenes info. This week's is particularly spicy. If you don't subscribe, you should, but you can also get it on the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com. Fansided.com/baseball-insiders. Robert writes there. I write there as well. And the fan-sided MLB staff writers who you want to know also right there. Another fun MLB debut, in addition to Chandler Simpson, we'll be touching on later. But before we get into all this fun stuff, Jess coming on the show on Monday. We are obviously going to talk about this. But before we peel off for the weekend, Tyler Soderstrom has 9 homers. That's the most in baseball. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? And give a little bit of kudos because I'll ask for Jess's perspective. But just want to stop, pause, April 18th. Tyler Soderstrom has the most home runs in Major League Baseball. If you're watching Wilmer Flores and you're watching the leaderboard, this one's way weirder than the other early season small sample size leaders.
Oh, absolutely. Because that was not on my bingo card to start the season. I mean, he's 23 years old. Obviously, he's very, very talented. for the A's, but the fact that he started off this season now leading the league in home runs with 9 is probably going to end up being the first player to 10 home runs is incredibly impressive. And obviously, like it's like him maturing as a player for sure, but it's controlling the zone a lot better for him is what's really kind of doing the trick for him. And he's taking better at bats and he's thriving because of it. And the A's, like, they really have not had much to be happy or celebrate with, they haven't had much to celebrate with over the last few seasons here, but they have some foundational pieces in place. And Soderstrom is another one of those players who obviously they can build around, or, it always goes with the A's. Maybe you can end up getting just a massive package in return for a player of that caliber. But my inclination is, especially with their move to Sacramento and whatever else is next on board for their future, they're going to want as many of these kind of players around. And the fact that he's so young, so controllable, he's exactly what they want and what they need. And kudos to that team, because I really have not had much hope for them at all. But they actually have, between him, Brent Rooker, there's a bunch of other players there. They actually have something that gives the fans in Sacramento something to cheer about.
You won't find a bigger Lawrence Butler fan than me, I don't think, either. New Jersey's finest. So, yeah, there's a reason to watch this A's core. And it's unfortunate that every time you go to the standings, it says athletics without a city. I'm rolling my eyes at it every time I check it out. But they have come to play in the way that we were told they probably would after spending a little bit more of that MLB mandated cash this offseason on some extensions, on Luis Severino, on bringing in veterans, on Gio Urshela. Downright watchable. And so it's cool that Tyler Soderstrom standing out as a potential first-time All-Star. One of my favorite things to do in mid-April, just projecting the All-Star roster already. But I can't stop. Is anybody else, by the way, standing out to you early as a guy who you're like, never made an All-Star team? I don't know if you have the same, baseball psychosis that I do. But when I see a hot start like this, 2.5 weeks in, I start rooting for them to make the All-Star game. And then as they fall off the pace or stay on it throughout May, I'm like watching and hoping and rooting. Wilmer Flores is kind of my guy in the early going. And I just mentioned who, like the average is down to 239. I don't know if maybe the counting stats carry him through. 23 ribs. He's one of the top RBI producers in Major League Baseball so far. But anybody else catching your eye early where you're like, never thought I'd see that guy on an All-Star team. First couple of weeks of the season, he's sort of on the pace.
Okay, this is definitely not fitting the bill of like under the radar guys by any means, but I'm gonna go with Jackson Chourio in Milwaukee, and that is extremely obvious. Like,
who?
Who are we talking about here? And full disclosure is Chourio is my under the radar pick to win MVP in the National League this year. To me, he is just everything that is good about baseball. He's young, he's 21 years old, and he's got the ability to be the face of baseball. And you're around him and you get to see what he's all about, and you talk to people around the Brewers, and he's kind of got and this is a dangerous game to play, I'm well aware of that, but like the Juan Soto swagger, he's got a lot of swagger to his game. And I'm not comparing the two players, because if you're a member of this show, you will see exactly what I think about comparisons.
Well, at this point, a comparison to Juan Soto kind of an insult, right? Mets fans hate that guy. That guy stinks. So
yeah, freaking terrible. Yeah, how could I do that to Jackson Chourio? Yeah. But anyways, to me, he's the guy that I'm watching the most here for sure. Drew, we don't have anything planned for Gavin Sheets today, but he's been very good. Very nice under the radar pick there for the Padres on a minor league contract. But yeah, you missed the last show, Drew. We talked a lot about the Padres. You should absolutely watch that if you haven't.
It's true. Check the shorts. And by the way, if you're a Mets fan, watch out going to Citi Field. I heard from WFAN's Evan Roberts that there's a lot of Yankee fans dressing up in Mets jerseys to go boo Juan Soto. So there's a false flag operation according to New York Sports Radio. That's the level of psychosis we've got in the early going here in New York. Settle down, Mets fans. Juan Soto is expensive, and he's good. He's also got like a 130 OPS plus during this period where you're booing him, or Yankee fans are booing him, or whoever's booing him in Mets jerseys. On the flip side, negativity for a bit, unfortunately. Grayson Rodriguez of the Orioles was scratched again from a bullpen session during his comeback from elbow trouble with a sore shoulder. So new issue, which brings me to sort of a larger point. about the Orioles. Because honestly, even a week ago, I was saying, hey, this might be the year where you cash in the chips like Samuel Basallo or Mayo, and you really go for it, because how long is the window going to be open? And you need pitching, and you need ace level pitching. And if you're hesitant to trade these guys, do it now. And now I'm kind of like, man, how much is too much in the pitching injury department before you say next year is the year? We got to hold on to these guys for one more year. And like, this isn't part of our window anymore. We got to find a way to move the window. That's my question to you, because this one, when I read that there's now a new issue with Grayrod, was sort of a killer of just like, this might not be the Orioles' year to go all in.
No, and before I dive into the Orioles here, I have a bone to pick with Jeff Passan. Passan, I was going to mention Carson Kelly in my notebook today and just about how good he's been for the Cubs, because it felt like it was flying under the radar nationally. And meanwhile, as we're doing the show today, he drops the tweet about Carson Kelly. So Jeff Passan, I am upset with you. I love you as a human being. You're great to me, but for today, at least, I'm very upset with you. How could you do that to me? But anyways, going back to the Baltimore Orioles, their rotation has been an issue even before the season started here. And the issues with the injury problems here with Rodriguez and losing Corbin Burns, they needed some reinforcements there. Like, trade with Miami last year really did not work out at all. Obviously, they tried to retain Burns, but it was pretty clear that having an Arizona spring trainer or just being close to Arizona or even in Arizona was very important to him, especially with his family. And he turned down 4 for 180, I believe the reports were. But they needed to do more in that rotation, and they did not do that. And they're kind of being left at the altar at this point in terms of different rotation options. And it's very early to make trades at this point of the year. Obviously, we saw the Milwaukee Brewers do it with the Boston Red Sox with Quinn Priester. We saw Michael Elias end up saying that it's possible that they could end up making a trade this early in the season. But what exactly that could be, I don't know. But to me, it's something that the Orioles have to absolutely go out and get, whether it's a Sandy Alcantara or whether it's somebody, an upper-level pitching arm, whether it's even a mid-tier guy. Like, they got to go out and do something, because they have such a talented young roster. You have Adley Rutschman, you have Gunnar Henderson, you have Jackson Holliday. I can go on and on and on and on about some of these guys. And if they let this go to waste, that would be one of the biggest missed opportunities in baseball history. And I'm very aware of like how big that statement is. I'm not usually a hot take guy, but that is not a hot take at all. They had an opportunity here to start a dynasty. Like, they still got a chance to do so, especially with the foundation that they have in place. But man, if they don't get things turned around quicker, or just address the rotation, or actually invest meaningful resources into this roster, it'll be a freaking huge wasted opportunity.
Yeah, they're making me mad as someone who roots for a team in the same division. I was told that this was going to be a decade-long behemoth the Yankees would have to deal with. And so far, there hasn't really been a single moment of the first couple of years where they've been particularly intimidating, especially not since the end of 2023. So it's on the Orioles, and it's incumbent upon them to find that solution. You mentioned Sandy Alcantara. I kind of do have to follow with. There was some talk this week about, I believe it was in a John Heyman column, about how they're confident that they're going to hold Alcantara till the deadline and not make sort of an early move, because they believe that he will bounce back to the level that he should be at. Are you hearing similar things? And do you know of any teams that are interested in the pursuit other than just the obvious pitching needy teams like the Orioles with a ton of prospect capital?
Yeah, and that's something that the Marlins are they're in a good situation here in terms of Alcantara. Overall, their situation kind of sucks. But the Alcantara thing, they have him signed long-term. He signed really cheap, so they can be patient here with him. And that's even how it was going to end up being last year before he ended up getting hurt, is he's going to take some time to get back to his former self coming off that injury. And this year, I believe he's got an ERA that's around 4.7, give or take. And he's shown signs for sure, but he's still not to that same level. But they can be patient in terms of building him up, and patient in terms of listening to trade offers and everything like that. Because when he is right, when he is clicking and on all cylinders, there is not a better pitcher in the National League. And that could be just a massive trade piece, both in terms of how talented he is, but also like how young he is. He's 29, and also how how affordable his contract is. It can make a lot of teams be involved in that market, which would only drive up the price even more. And if he's actually going and doing his thing where he's got like a, I don't know, low 2 ERA, that could be what really helps the Marlins there with their rebuild.
Yeah, and stay tuned. He is going to be, in the same way that a few other names have dominated our July podcast the past couple of years, he probably is going to be the guy that you're hearing about a lot of the baseball insiders come early June, early July, end of the month. And I don't think we can forget the Padres names either. John Heyman, same column, sort of gave credence to a Yankees Michael King reunion in free agency this year, which got my antenna up. But as you've said, we got to watch King and we got to watch Cease no matter how hot the Padres are.
Yeah, because Preller is always very he thinks about different scenarios in ways that other GMs don't. And like, again, I'm not a comparison guy, but he reminds me, in terms of how he operates and how relentless he is, he reminds me a lot of Howie Roseman, who's the Eagles general manager, who is bound to be a Hall of Fame executive in football. And he will consider a lot of different things. And the reality is that he probably will not get you probably won't be able to retain Cease. You probably won't be able to retain King. Maybe that could change. I don't know. But if he's able to get something worth more than a draft pick that they'd end up getting if they left in free agency, then I think that's something they got to consider, because they still have plenty of resources to go out and get starting pitching help for this season. If they do trade some of those guys, again, like, this is like very speculative. I'm not sourcing anything on it. But Preller is a very he's a very unique general manager in the fact that he'll consider almost everything. And if an opportunity arises where he can get a lot of value for those guys, then I could see him doing it.
Quick pivot to the chat. Ryan M asking, Roman Anthony shouldn't be in AAA. When do we get him in Boston? Robert, I can flag this one down because Anthony's dealing with shoulder stiffness. So he's DHing right now, and he's doing it well. He hit like a 460-foot tank job the other day, but they're not calling him up until he can play the outfield. Ironically, the same reason they started Masataka Yoshida on the shelf, even though he's more of a DH type than Anthony is. So service time manipulation and what have you. Eric and I talked about this on the podcast a little bit Tuesday, but as far as I can tell, he'll be up as soon as he gets the shoulder healthy, gets back in the outfield, and then you'll see him in Boston.
Yeah, even with the injury, he's still raking. He's
insane. He's insane.
Yeah, he's just a very unique player, and he's freaking awesome. And he's the number 2 prospect in baseball, and he'll debut before too long. But you're spot on, Adam. He's just got to get that shoulder in a better place. He's got to be able to play a position defensively. So he will absolutely debut before too long. It's just going to take a little bit, and they want to be patient with him and not rush him back from that injury, because the last thing you want to do is rush up a player of that magnitude, of that caliber, when he's not 100% healthy. So be patient, but it'll come sooner rather than later.
And speaking of people who are in the wrong place, why is Clint Hurdle the Colorado Rockies hitting coach? Not to bag on the Rockies too much. We just spoke on the last podcast about how Bud Black should be freed and fired. Constant mediocrity doesn't even begin to describe the Rockies organization, and they have a sacrificial lamb to start the year. Hensley Mulin's fired as the hitting coach after, again, 2.5 weeks. Your offense is struggling at Coors Field. Maybe you do deserve some time off to think about what you've done. But Clint Hurdle comes out of a special advisory role out of basically nowhere, wrapped up his coaching career, distinguished, good Pirates tenure, and then all of a sudden he's sort of punished by being asked to lead the Colorado Rockies offense. Why is this happening? Why did this happen this week?
If I can be totally honest, I was scrolling Twitter and I saw a tweet from Rockies PR saying that they made a change of hitting coach and that Clint Hurdle was their new hitting coach. And I thought it was a parody account. And then I was like, wait, why do the Rockies, why would anyone make a parody of the Rockies Twitter account?
And also, why do the Rockies have a PR department? I didn't know they used that.
Yeah, it's just a crazy situation overall. And I did not understand it. And if I'm being real, if you're going to make a change at hitting coach within 2.5 weeks of the season starting, why didn't you just make a change in the offseason when you could have cast a wide net in terms of looking for a hitting coach? Obviously, Clint Hurdle is just immensely respected. And I'm not kidding you. Of all the times I've ever tweeted about a guy getting hired, I've never had a response like I did yesterday when Clint Hurdle got named the hitting coach. It was genuinely like, it was tons of people, even people texting me across baseball, just being genuinely like thrilled that he ended up getting hired. I still think the Rockies are a disaster class. They are that is about as bad of an organization as there is in sports. I used to think it was maybe like the A's, but the Rockies have definitely passed that for sure. And it's just really disappointing overall. But that being said, though, Bud Black is an unbelievable human being. Clint Hurdle, unbelievable human being as well. In terms of guys like leading your team and like leading the charge there, I don't think you could ask for better leaders there. So while that team is going to suck, at least they got good leaders.
There you go, everybody. If you tune in for the Rockies bit, we gave you what you wanted. One more note: Chandler Simpson, not the only MLB debut upcoming. Caleb Durbin, who Eric and I praise a ton on the Prospect Show, personal favorite of mine. Let's take it to the main feed today because he's getting called up to make his MLB debut with the Brewers. I am so excited to see what the Brewers see in this kid. And the comp that we talked about when we thought he might be the Yankees starting second baseman to open the year, and when the Devin Williams, Nestor Cortez trade goes down, the comp has never changed. He doesn't strike out. It doesn't happen. He struck out more times this year than I was comfortable with. I looked at his stat line. I think it was 12, and I was like, 12 in a couple of weeks? Are we sure? Because he went the entirety of last season with 40 at the upper levels of the minors. Maybe he's a little bit nervous, but either way, he earned a big league call-up. And again, the comparison, if you're not familiar, is pretty obvious here.
Yeah, it is good old Dustin Pedroia, and that is exactly how the Milwaukee Brewers view him. And obviously, like, he's not going to be Pedroia right away. It's very unfair to kind of put that comp on him. So my apologies to Caleb Durbin. But he is the guy who is capable of playing all over the infield. He has the same stature as Dustin Pedroia, so the comps are natural there. And there is not a better person for Caleb Durbin to be around than Pat Murphy, who actually coached Dustin Pedroia at Arizona State. So I don't know if Murph has had Pedroia talk to Durbin at all. It would not surprise me because I've seen some really weird stuff when it comes to Pat Murphy and the connections that he has. He pulls out his phone and you could just call it the most crazy people ever. There was one last spring that I can't remember who the hell it was, but it was unbelievable. I was just genuinely shocked overall. But nothing surprises me with Murph, but Durbin should be a very helpful player at third base because their third base position this year has just been a real joke overall. So there's some reinforcements there. Gives them at least some long-term hope in terms of the position there. But that was a move that was kind of necessary considering the struggles that they had there.
Yeah, and we applaud the call-up, and I'm sure Murphy will hook him up with Pedroia, and you can't imagine that those two will be apart for very long. Good job by the Brewers getting the job done. Devin Williams redeeming himself a little bit in New York. Nestor Cortez out for a while, and now Durbin responsibility falls on his substantial shoulders to make a meal of that trade in Milwaukee. I think he will. I'm excited. Anything else in your notebook as we head into the weekend? And a happy Easter to everybody who is celebrating.
Yeah, I got two things. One serious, one kind of sad, if I'm being honest. Did I say one serious, one sad?
Yeah.
Well, both are serious, but one's cool, the other's sad. The first that's cool is just what Carson Kelly's done there behind the plate for the Chicago Cubs. I remember when that contract broke. I believe it's 2 years for $12 million. Thought it was a big overpay by the Cubs and a really good job by Carson Kelly's agents over at CAA in order to get that deal. But he has been a revelation there. He's been awesome. So that was a good move by an organization that really needed some catching stability because last year especially it was not good. But the other one that's serious and sad is it's not even baseball related. But one of the guys that I respect most in sports is Greg Popovich. And he was taken to the hospital after fainting in San Antonio yesterday. So I want to send some good thoughts there to the Popovich family because, yeah, I'm not kidding you. I've learned more about sports or just whatever by listening to him talk in his pregame shows or in his pregame interviews, I should say, or just postgame stuff because he'll just go on some huge rants. He'll give you one-word answers and then go on like a 10-minute tangent. So just want to give some good thoughts to him because he's someone I just genuinely really like.
Absolutely. I admire him as well. Sending good thoughts to the Popovich family and this Spurs community in San Antonio. Absolutely. We will see you back here on the show next week again, 12:45 Eastern time on Monday. Jess Kleinschmidt will be here with me. Robert back on Wednesday at 1. And then Friday, we got something special in the works, so stay tuned on that. Join the Discord if you have questions between shows. You can get in touch with both Robert and myself. You can ask him for his unfiltered NFL draft thoughts. You can ask him to steal the Dallas Cowboys pick so that the card does not reach the podium. Whatever you want to ask him, you may over in the Baseball Insiders Discord just by becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Moonshot if you have not. Join us on Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com/baseball-insiders and have a good weekend. We will see you on Monday. Robert, I think we did it again.
We did do it again. It was fun doing it again. It felt good doing it, and it also felt good that I did not say anything stupid, especially at the end of the show like I did the last time. So that's good. Feels good to get through this, and I'm excited for the NFL draft. Adam, I appreciate you. Everyone in the comments, I appreciate you. Joanne, our lovely producer, I appreciate you. See you back here. Well, for me on Wednesday, You'll be back here on Monday.
Appreciate you. Appreciate Joanne. And there's still another 30 seconds if you want to say something stupid. You want me to turn it back to you so you say something dumb or no?
What I'm going to say here is, Andrew Barry, you should be ashamed of yourself for making that comparison. That's all I got to say. It involves Shohei Ohtani. That's all I'm going to say, because I had a lot of other thoughts in the short. But it got me worked up. I'm not kidding. I saw it at the gym yesterday, and I'm just like, this is really stupid. This is like, I'm not going to spoil what I said on the short, but Adam, close it out here.
Stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. Become a member, and you'll see what Robert's talking about. Until next week, when the NFL draft is upon us, we will see you on the Baseball Insiders. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.